Okay. Bethlehem, Sioux. Wow. Okay, so I got a few more here that I want to write down. Sioux Falls, Bethlehem, and Dorchester. Hey, Robin. And Westchester. Good Lord. Okay, everybody's here. I'm at a co-op party. Okay, so we're gonna get started, and I'm just gonna list off. If I missed your co-op, let me know in the chat or even unmute. I'm gonna do the list real quick. It's a full list. So in the room, we have Westchester Food Co-op, Granite City Grocery, Pullman Good Food Co-op, Village of Williamsville Food Co-op, Bay City Food Co-op, Cedar Falls Food Co-op, Clipper City Co-op, Assabet Village Market, Clipper City, Whitewater Food Co-op, Mad River Food Co-op, Purple Carrot Food Co-op, Cultivate Community Food Co-op, Oshkosh Food Co-op, who we're all dying to hear the results from, but they're announcing them live this weekend, so we can't ask. Androscoggin Food Co-op, Paso Food Co-op, Silverton Food Co-op, South LA Sola Food Co-op, Sioux Falls Food Co-op, a new one, a new startup, Bethlehem Food Co-op out of Pennsylvania, and Dorchester Food Co-op out of Boston. Did I miss anybody? Got Clipper City. Yep. Clipper City Co-op. All right. Excellent. Common Share. There's what I missed. Hi, Emily. Common Share Food Co-op, also out of Massachusetts. Okay. We have got a great presentation for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And we are working today with our topic today is ownership growth in tough times. A lot of you have asked questions about this. This was our #1 most requested topic, tied with raising capital in these times, which we addressed last Friday, and we're going to be addressing again this week. We'll talk more about that. I'm trying to get it. There we go. So this has been one of our most requested topics, and so here we go. Ownership growth in tough times. The housekeeping, very quick. Video if you can. We love seeing your faces. It makes it more interactive. Mute when you're not talking. And because there's so many of us in the room, we ask actually that you use the chat to put your questions in there, or to wave, to say, hey, waving, I'd like to talk. Put that in the chat, but if we let people unmute and just talk whenever they feel like it, we get a cacophony of voices. So we're going to use the chat as a way to interact. It's also a great place. We've seen peers use it very interactively. Sometimes people are like, oh, Katie mentioned X, where can you get that? And someone will drop the link, or someone will mention, we have a document connected to that. And everyone's like, oh, I want that. Use the chat. It's really excellent. And we'll send the chat log afterwards. So if any information shows up in there that you want to make sure you captured, you'll get that. This call is being recorded. So please do remember that when you speak, it will be shared publicly. And check-ins. Like I said, we went down the list of co-ops. Forgive me if I missed anyone, here's your moment, unmute. Did I miss any co-ops who didn't get mentioned or listed?
Kathy Fox, Bethlehem Food Co-op.
Hi there.
Hey.
All right, so I think that takes us up to about 25 startups in the room. And we are going to ask everyone to try and stay on topic and stay as focused and muted as possible, so we can get through. There's so much everyone would like to talk about right now, and we understand that. You can always contact us for one-on-one support to have a more in-depth conversation about any questions or challenges your food co-op has, to set up a phone call, or we can do that over email. But I'm gonna kind of make sure everyone kind of stays on topic today, or if Katie kind of says, love to talk to you offline about that, please respect that. She's just trying to keep it so the whole room can keep moving and on the topic she promised. And that takes us to today's speaker is Katie Novak from Katie Novak Cooperative Coaching. And our topic today is, how are we going to do ownership growth? Can we do ownership growth right now? The answer from both Katie and FCI is absolutely yes, positively. But Katie's going to go into a lot more depth on how you can do it. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and give Katie a moment here to transition to sharing hers, because she's got some slides she'd like to share with all of you. And in the meantime, I see Market 166 has joined us. Welcome, guys. All right.
Okay, can you see my screen?
We can.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. It's great to see your faces and to get to share some time with you today. I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate you guys investing some time into what I think is a very important topic. ownership growth now in the current situation. I've been getting lots of questions, just as SCI has, about the current situation. Can we keep asking for ownership? Should we take a pause? Should we stop our capital campaign? Can we start a capital campaign? And the short answer to that question is please don't stop. Yes, you can ask. Yes, you can still raise capital, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail about that in terms of ownership growth today. What we're going to cover, hopefully in the next 30 minutes or so, are these topics here, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers, which Jacqueline will help us facilitate via the chat function. We're going to talk about some current examples of co-ops that really are growing ownership, even right now, even over the last few weeks. We're going to talk through what a plan of action might look like in terms of owner growth for your co-op, and how this is an opportunity for you to reach new people, new audiences. And then we'll spend a little time getting creative. And I'm going to ask you guys for your ideas and examples on creative ways to not only grow ownership, but even engage your community. So let's get started. On the screen here, there are some examples of co-ops that really are growing ownership right here, right now. And if you sat in on my messaging webinar on the 10th of April, which seems like eons ago now, you know that I truly believe that this is a pivotal moment for us as cooperators. This is an excellent time for us to be sharing the solution that we offer. People are looking for an answer. They want an alternative, and we have that for them. And we have a proven track record of doing that. We've had a lot of changes since that last webinar. It seems like things change daily. They do change daily. Everything changes daily. It's a new world every day. And one thing that has continued to change and evolve is my belief that we are a solution. When I first started getting answers from co-ops, 6-8 weeks ago about how can we move forward in this time, how can we do this, my gut reaction, I knew in my heart we could, but now I know it even more. That resolve has become even stronger, especially sitting in on some of these webinars with you guys and with Jacqueline and other great leaders of the cooperative movement. My resolve is even stronger. This is a time for us to come together as a community, and we have a solution that we can offer to our ownership and to our communities. People want access to a resilient food system. We're seeing people who never thought about local food before really interested in local food. And we're seeing co-ops across the country demonstrate that people want this. People want a solution. Clipper City here is the 750 owners. They just celebrated that milestone here recently. Congratulations, Clipper City. Fantastic. I posted, when I made these slides earlier this week, Oshkosh was at 1,243 owners, and they've blown that out of the water now. I think they're 1,255 or more last time I looked, which is fantastic. I mean, just in a few days, that's 12 or more owners they've grown. And Hillsborough Food Co-op in Oregon, 564 owners, continues to focus on ownership growth. They're continuing to invest time and energy and resources into growing ownership, and that is beginning to pay dividends. That being said, you know your community best. You know what's happening where you are. And it's very important that we are respectful and aware that this is a challenging time for a lot of people. Many of us have lost our jobs or our livelihoods. Many of us are alone in a home by ourselves. And some of us are in a home with other people that are starting to drive us crazy. Not that that's my reality at all, but just kidding. But we want to be sympathetic to the fact that this is affecting everyone differently. But besides that, we are a solution. Co-ops are a solution. And everyone is looking for ways that they can take action. We want to know whether that action is being certain that when I go to the grocery store, there's food on the shelves, or whether that action is protecting my family or reaching out to people to have a connection. We all want to take action. We all want to do something. And we have action that our communities can take. Let's see here. It's important that we are offering ownership as a solution to our communities, but it's also important that we're offering our owners, people who are already on board, the opportunity to help us. They can take action as well just by telling their co-op story. Just by telling other people why the co-op is important to them, why it's more important to them now than it has been in the past, and why they joined initially, and why that is even more important today, and why their resolve is even stronger. Current owners can play a critical role in your ownership growth. So let's talk through some things in terms of a plan of action. Just like in the last webinar I did, if you happen to sit in on that one, I think it's very important that we have a plan, that we're not just going at this haphazardly or, just willy-nilly. We really want to have a specific plan to be able to proceed and see results. And that's important whether we're in a pandemic or not. I think a lot of times as cooperators, there is so much to do, and there is so little time and so little help, sometimes it feels like, that we're often just fighting fires. We're just doing what's right in front of us. But it is time, this is an excellent time for us to take a deep breath and really create a plan, really think through what's worked for us. And some of the things that I want you to think about are, what have you done in the last 12 months that has worked really well? What outreach activities, what promotions, look at the whole gamut of what your co-op has been doing and pick out the things that worked best. And then think about how those things translate into an online or a virtual platform. And I will argue that all of them can translate, every single one. I think it's very rare that there's an activity that took place, pre-COVID, that we can't find a way to make happen in our new world. And I think it's also important when we're talking about owner growth to think about your co-op in terms of the adaptation curve. And at the bottom of your screen here, you know that there are innovators that come along at the very beginning, and then there are those folks early on that are like, oh, this is awesome, this is just what I need. And then the people beyond that are like, oh yeah, I wonder why I didn't know about this sooner. And then you get to the folks who are like, oh, wow, well, I guess this is really going to happen. It's time for me to get on board. And then you have the people that, wait till the doors are open and finally pull the trigger and become an owner. So think about where you are in that curve and how that applies to the current situation that we're in. In addition, it's very important that you have a goal. And that goal, I'm going to be preaching to the choir here, but you need it to be SMART, the specific and measurable, attainable, realistic, time-centered. You want to make sure that you're creating a goal that's achievable for your organization, and you want to look at your co-op's development timeline and identify what's the next big milestone on the horizon for us, and how can we break that down into a numerical goal of ownership growth that we can realistically achieve. And we want to think about the timing of that. You're going to want to think mild term, midterm, the next short 30 to 60 days, and then longer term. You're going to want to think about your ownership growth. And one example I'd like to give you here, just to think about this in terms of real numbers, is if you were a co-op right now with 550 owners, let's say, and the next big milestone on your horizon is site selection. And maybe according to your development timeline, that's 750 owners. So you have 200 owners to grow before you can get there. How can we break that down into a SMART, realistic goal? And if we just pull a number out or a date out of the air, let's say, and say, is December 31st realistic? Can we grow 200 owners by the end of the year? Well, let's do the math. You know, if you break down 200 owners and we've got, let's say, 7 months left in the year, that's 28, 29 owners a month. Relatively doable. So let's think through those kinds of things. Think about how it applies to our co-op, what our next milestone is, and what those numbers actually look like. And then think about the tactics we can use to accomplish this goal. Hopefully you've made your list of the things that have worked and you know how they're going to translate into the online world after you've gone through this exercise. What can we do to actually implement those things? And some of the tried and true ways that co-ops have seen success in the past fall into a couple categories for me. Information sessions are one, and those typically are in 2 categories. They break down into 2 segments, I think. One is where we're invited to speak to an organization that's already meeting. And in that case, I'm thinking the Rotary, the book club, the moms group, those kinds of things. And then the second category would be those things that we initiate. So these are what's a co-op and why do I care kind of sessions, or co-op 101, where we control the event and we control the messaging. So those have worked for us in the past, and I can see them translating into the real world that we're in now. And we have some examples of co-ops who are doing that currently. Peer-to-peer networking is also a huge win for us. People become members of a co-op because they're asked to. And when your friend tells you something that is important to them and they ask you to join, we consider that strongly. That means a lot to us as individuals. We also see that in-home gatherings work. When we bring people together to talk about what we're doing, they like it, they listen, and they might not become owners right then and there, but they move themselves along that continuum of adoption. And we all know that it takes about 7 touches before someone actually takes action. And we can certainly be doing in-home gatherings now. I see lots of us are doing, I know I'm doing Zoom calls and Google meetings with my friends and my family, and why can't we do them? To talk about the co-op. We certainly can. We absolutely can. And then we also see that short-term promotions have worked well for co-ops. You know, 30 owners in 30 days, or 15 owners by the 15th, or if we can get X number of owners by this day, then this farmer will donate this item. And those kinds of things work. So think through what those might be, and then also think about your messaging. And we talked about that adoption curve and how we might need to translate our messaging both to reflect where our new audience might be, where our new owners might be, as well as the current pandemic. And how do we talk about this ownership opportunity in a way that makes sense to people right now? And we want to make sure that what these action items that we're establishing are specific and that we're holding each other accountable. We want to make sure that these things are measurable and that we are holding each other accountable. And that might be a spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all of these events. It might be that we change the first item of every outreach meeting agenda to be a report out on where we are in terms of our of the tactics and timeline that we've established as a group. Perhaps it's a board report. Whatever mechanism works well for you to keep track of this, it's important that we are keeping track of it and that we're holding each other accountable and we're asking each other these questions. So if today we decide that we are going to grow our ownership 200 owners by the end of the year, a month from now, we need to be asking each other, have we grown 28 owners this month? What did we do? Did we meet the goals that we established? Did we have the events that we said we were going to do? And if we didn't, why didn't we? I think that's very important. Okay, so we have an opportunity, I believe, in front of us to reach new audiences. There are people who are hungry for the solution that we offer right now. And we're all spending more time online than we ever thought we could. And I'm seeing lots of local producers taking this situation and making the most of it. They're offering me delivery to my doorstep from a local farm. Milk delivery systems are, seeing a resurgence. We're seeing all kinds of people interested in a resilient food system that might not have been interested before. I think when we're considering new audiences, it's a good opportunity is to consider a paid social media campaign. This is an excellent time to reach people who probably are interested in what we have to offer. They just don't even know we exist yet. And we have to keep in mind that when we implement these kinds of strategies, that 7-touch situation where someone has to hear about us 7 times or see us 7 times before they really take action. That applies to a paid marketing campaign as well. So it's a progression. We're moving people from awareness of who we are to engagement with us to actually taking action with us. And that takes time. I've worked with co-ops who have implemented social media plans in the past and have been a little bit disappointed, I would say, in the short-term results. They think, okay, after 4 weeks of paying for this, we should be seeing exponential owner growth. But that exponential owner growth might take 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks before those people are seeing us and seeing the repetition enough before it matters, before we see action. So if you do decide to do a paid social media campaign, I have a template that I'd be happy to share, but it's important that you're intentional about it and that you're patient and that you allow the process to work out. And I'll argue that we have audiences available to us who we've never had before. There are people who are interested, they are scared when they go to the grocery store and they see bare shelves. But we can show them that at co-ops, that's not happening. We can show them that at co-ops, especially at Green Top Grocery, which I mentioned in my first webinar, they saw farmers bringing food to the co-op every day. And it was very heartwarming, and it gave me a lot of comfort, even though I don't have a co-op in my town right now in Texas, to know that my community, my home community, has access to a resilient food system. And despite what's happening outside of that, we can take control of our food system, and we can offer that comfort and that control and that resilience to people who are looking for it. We really and truly are, we are an opportunity for people to do something productive and to feel like they are strengthening their own personal situation. One other side note is that I'm always looking for ways that volunteers can be involved, and a paid social media campaign is an excellent way to utilize volunteers. I guarantee you there are people in your community who have the skill set, the interest, and the time on their hands right now to help you with this. And I encourage you to utilize that we don't have to take this all on ourselves as organizers of our co-op, but we have people in our communities who are ready and willing to help us. And this is an excellent way to utilize volunteers. Let's see here. What else did I want to mention? Let's talk about some creative ways that we're seeing co-ops look and seek owners and grow owners. Mad River Market is doing a virtual open house I saw posted, which I think is a great idea. Fantastic way to engage people and create some community. Cedar Falls, who I think both of these folks are on the call today. Cedar Falls is doing some live info sessions on Facebook, which again, I think is really cool and creative. I love to see that. Whitewater Grocery Company partnered with a local brewery, and there's a picture of their beer that they have named after their co-op. And I hope, I am certain they do such great work, Whitewater folks do, that at the brewery where you can buy that beer, I'm certain that they have ownership brochures there. So people who come in and say, hey, what is this co-op thing, can take ownership information, and that can be a way for them to grow owners. Prairie Food Co-op is doing their Ask a Chef series, and we're seeing co-ops doing cooking classes and all kinds of things online. And there's a post here that I used in my last session as well from Food Shed that says we all have more questions than answers right now, but we know that we're stronger exploring them together. become an owner today. We're in this together. I think that's excellent messaging to be able to share with your communities and offer people the opportunity to see the co-op as a solution to their current situation. So I'm going to ask Jacqueline to read our chat here and ask you all to share some creative ideas that you're doing maybe, or that you're seeing other co-ops do that you think have been really inspirational.
All right. People have been sharing so what they're doing. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here, and you mentioned some of it. So I wanted to mention Bethlehem said food co-op in Pennsylvania said they just shared a video they made on how to shop at a local farm, one of their local farms, for folks who are not familiar with the option, to kind of like show them how it's done and how to be comfortable connecting to a farm.
Cool.
So that is really neat. We also see, let's see, we got lots of people doing Facebook Lives to introduce themselves to the community, and we saw that from Bay City, and people opening up, also just even opening up their board meetings. But virtual potlucks was something that excited everybody, and that maybe we even want to have someone, I think that was Mad River. Do you guys want to unmute and share a few thoughts on how that's gone, how that went? All right, counted to 7 there, so I'm assuming you're not unmuting. Which is okay. And they said that actually, I think that it's a Grand Rapids Food Co-op that you guys are actually doing this tomorrow night with a movie as well. So it's going to be, they're going to be doing a live potluck, share your recipe, and a movie together with their community.
That's Jacqueline, that's Cultivate.
Oh, it's Cultivate. Okay.
Yeah, Cultivate. We're going to do the movie. We're re-showing the movie that we did last year on Earth Day or Earth Week, whatever. Modified.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I love that Catherine from Bay City just shared that at this very moment, while listening and talking with us, she's stuffing envelopes because they're organizing a pickup and delivery of seeds and plants for their community. And so right now she's stuffing seed envelopes.
Love it.
Which is great. Joy from Cedar Falls, we're organizing an opportunity for members to write notes or draw pictures, which will be delivered to local retirement and nursing homes.
Cool.
Excellent. All right, guys, any other your creative ideas? Did I miss any?
I see one here, chalk drawings.
Oh, I missed that. Go ahead and tell us about that.
This one says that they use chalk drawings to spread the word. They used a chalk giveaway from a local chalk. I can't get that word out. So that's cool.
Yeah, I forgot that. You're right. That came from someone started the webinar that they were like, they wanted to do a chalk challenge to get people to chalk draw about their co-op in front of their houses, take pictures and post them. And so that's that then people could like have a little contest. So that's really cool.
And I love the idea that people walking by then are also exposed to that, kind of like yard signs, but a new way to approach it.
Right? Because like chalk's the hot thing right now. I don't know about your neighborhoods, but it's like people are chalking messages of hope. We usually think, if people are having birthdays, they chalk that, so jump on that. That's excellent. Silverton's thinking about doing a scavenger hunt of things around your house.
Cool.
Andrew Scoggin did ask what technology is being used to share a movie at a virtual potluck. Cultivate, you want to jump in and answer that?
Sure. So we're going to use Zoom. We're going to use this and just do a screen share. So I have to test it out today. But we did reach out to Obe, who is the creator of the film. Last year when we did it, she spoke with us afterwards. So she gave us permission because you can get her movie like for $4.99 online. But if everybody did it on their own, then we don't think that they would really watch it. And so we offered, can we pay you how many times, how many people show up? And she said, no, you guys just go ahead and enjoy it and have fun. And so she gave us permission.
That's lovely. And there is a question in the comments, if you can answer it, if you can add that in there, Paula. They're asking which film. So if you can type that into the comments, that'd be lovely, because I think people that way will have it in the notes.
Oh, you bet.
Thank you.
And you know, there's another tool too. I don't have it in front of me. I'll have to look. I learned it in another webinar I was in earlier this week, that it's some kind of platform that allows multiple users to watch the same Netflix show and chat, have comment back and forth. So it's like real time watching a movie or watching TV with someone. I'll have to look back and see about what that tool is.
Mary
Great.
from Wild Onion, which is the new name, I'm getting everyone used to this. Wild Onion Market is the new name for Rogers Park Food Co-op. They just went through a name change. You're planning an online herb growing event. Mary, do you mind unmuting and explaining exactly what will happen in the online event? No? Sometimes if people don't know, I got caught. Did you hear me, Mary? All right, well, if you get a chance to jump in, we'd love to hear more about what exactly you'll do during the event itself.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit, Katie, about everyone's having these great events? And I think the thing, I see a lot of startups doing great events. What I don't see them doing is tying it to an ownership ask. Can you talk about doing that with all this great outreach?
Yeah. You know, I think it's important that you tied it right into my next slide, Jacqueline, is that the reason people become owners is because they're asked. So yes, these events are great at building community. These events are great. These ideas are great at bringing people together. But one thing I will stress is that you have to ask. We have to be respectful of the current situation. And I think having ownership payment plans or owner subsidies, if those things aren't in place, it's important that you think about getting them in place. But we have to ask. Whenever we are speaking on behalf of the co-op, whether this is a peer-to-peer kind of talk about why I'm an owner, or an information session that we're hosting or we're attending, or if it's an online herb growing class that we're doing, we need to be giving the folks in attendance an update on the co-op. We need to tell them who we are and what we're doing. We need to be giving them a list of what we need. Do we have a volunteer need? You know, do we need whatever it is that we need? And then we need to give them action items. And the number one action item on your list should be to become an owner. Volunteer, buy a CSA, like our Facebook post, share our newsletter. There's lots of ways that we can, lots of opportunities we can give them to take action, but included in that list of opportunities of ways that they can feel like they are part of the solution is to ask them to become an owner. I think that's really critical. And that's all. That's the end of my presentation there. So good question, Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, I can share now, and Katie. So Loyola University has an urban farm in our neighborhood, and this would be ideally an outdoor event with Kevin the farmer explaining. He's going to pick a topic, and it's right in our community, and it's a beautiful area as well. So we would have Kevin pick a topic about growing a certain food and take them around the farm, showing them what he's growing, make it very lively kind of event. And we would do what Katie is saying, explain the co-op and make an ask for owners. So we'll see, we're gonna try it. He knows how to do this. He does it right now with his students at Loyola because they're not on site, using Zoom on his phone, he said. He's got the technology down, so that's a big deal in itself. So
Nice.
we'll see. Yeah.
Cool, Mary.
Thank you. We did have some questions that came to me privately, Katie, but we explained payment subsidies. Can you explain payment subsidies, what they are and how? So I think when we first talk about, Katie, I think this would be a great time to talk about payment subsidies, payment plans, and stressing them. So I'm going to turn that over to you, but we are getting some questions about even how you set something like that up if you feel like going into the details.
Okay, so it's going to be, you know, it's different co-op to co-op based on, you know, what you have, what your resources are, what's available to you. I'll explain a couple of ways that co-ops have done this that have worked well. And right off the bat, payment plans are an easy way. You don't have to have a lot of resources available to be able to offer payment plans to folks. So breaking your ownership down into set payments, whether it's a monthly payment or annual payment, making it more affordable to those who, if you're, let's say your ownership share is $200, especially if you've just lost your job, that's a chunk of change that you probably aren't willing to invest. But if I could do $10 a month and feel like I'm part of the solution and I'm building a resilient food system, yeah, okay, I could get on board with that. That's doable. So thinking through what those options might look like. And P6 is an excellent source of information. Talk to your peers. Call me. I'd be happy to share with you some specific examples of other co-ops, what their payment structures are. And then subsidies. Ownership subsidies are another way that co-ops have been able to make ownership more affordable for some folks. For example, Green Top Grocery offered a $100 subsidy. So their ownership was $200. The subsidy was $100. So an individual then would only have to cover $100 of the shares, and that could be broken down into monthly payments as well. So the way that was funded was through a partnership with a local community foundation. So we had a fund at a local community foundation where owners could make donations to offset ownership costs for others. And not even owners, anyone could make a donation to help offset costs for owners. And in fact, part of our ownership application asked, would you like to make a donation to this fund? Would you like to make ownership more affordable for other community members? And if so, how much would you like to donate? And there was a place to mark on the application, that I'll donate $20, or I'd like to donate $200 and pay for a full share of someone else's. And then when people applied for ownership, there was a box on the application that said, that, I would like, and I can't remember, I'd have to look at the ownership app to remember what it was called, but it basically was you could pay in full, you could pay in installments, or you could pay with I think we called it a grant on the ownership form, and you just check that box. We did no underwriting, there was no checking behind the scenes. If this was something you wanted to take advantage of and you felt you weren't in a position financially to do that, then we would like to help you do that. And thankfully, the demand for those resources was never exhausted. We always had owners who were, we always had enough owners who were willing to pay a little more that we were able to offer, the subsidy for those who weren't able to afford that. So I would say checking with your community foundations and perhaps thinking through as a board how you might structure that and how that could look for you would be real important right now.
Excellent. Well, we're getting a lot of questions about payment plans, and I'd like to jump in on this real quick, which is just that there was a question about should we offer to pause payments? And one thing that one of your peers mentioned is just be really careful that you have a plan for how you're going to restart and how you're going to notify people, because the worst part of all this is honestly keeping track of everything, as you are all talking about in the chat.
Yes. Absolutely. But that's a really great point, Jacqueline. And that's something that as an outreach manager and as an employee of Green Top, we didn't do a very good job of. Someone would sign up for payment plans and maybe they paid us, maybe they didn't, and maybe we noticed it, maybe we didn't. We didn't do as good of a job as and weren't as diligent as we should have been about reminding people that you have a payment coming up. So we learn the best lessons from our own mistakes. So please, create a system to allow you to do that. If you pause payments, perhaps instead of you're pausing that payment, but maybe you're still sending them an email saying, hey, this is your monthly co-op email. As a reminder, we've paused payments, that you're still following through on your process and your system, so that you can keep track of that and you can stay engaged with those folks, because just because they're not making their payment to you doesn't mean you don't want them engaged and involved with what you're doing.
Excellent point. A lot of you said you're using PayPal because it automatically bills, a system that didn't exist like that when right back when Green Talk was doing this. That would have been nice.
It would have been.
So that seems to have a lot of solutions. But I do interested with what Bonnie said real quick. Those of you who are in predominantly low-income communities, especially, but everyone should consider. There's a lot of things that we're pausing, right? That people we're pausing people having to pay. Right now, and it shows a lot of compassion for your community if you can make that statement, both that we have, if you have a subsidy program, great, but even just like, hey, become part of making this change happen today for only $10, you can get started. Remind people it doesn't have to be a barrier, but maybe you offer to pause payments and say this is one way we want to make sure we're helping those owners who are struggling right now. But please do stick with Katie's idea, which is excellent, about they still get the monthly email. It's just a reminder that you've paused payments and you're looking for it, that you're glad that they're an owner. All right, so lots more discussion happening about people are throwing up examples of their forms, what PayPal will and won't do. We love all that. You can read that and share that with one another. Any other specific questions about ownership, growth, and messaging during this time for Katie? Because I've got a couple, but I'm not going to jump in without, I don't want to talk over y'all. All right, Kelly, you want to unmute and ask us your question?
Hi.
Hi, Kelly.
So we have done this in the past, and I know that there's other co-ops that have done this also, and that is they will start an ownership drive saying, we get so many owners and everyone gets something, or this vendor, this farmer is going to donate something to everyone.
Yeah.
What I never hear about is what happens when you don't meet that.
Ah, that's a great question.
Well, that happened to us, and it's like, well, the people that signed up were kind of hoping for something, and then we just closed mouth. We didn't say anything, and I just want to know, what do we do with that?
Yeah. Okay. So Kelly, just to clarify, that did happen to you. You did a short-term promotion. You didn't reach the goal, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a great question, and of course it happens. The real world happens, and so first of all, you should look at the situation and see what you can learn from it. What were you doing well? What were you not doing so well? What could you have done differently? That's for future learning and growth. In the short term, on how you manage that and how you message that, my recommendations would probably fall into 2, maybe 3 categories. Number one, you own it, and you take the situation and you make it better. So, come the 31st, let's say if you have 31 owners in 31 days and we all get a candy bar, that's the problem. I don't know what it is, but you get to 31, the 31st of the month, and you don't have 31 owners. Well, one way around that would be to say, okay, we're so close to our goal. Let's say we're at 21. We need 10 more owners. We're going to extend this for 1 more week because we all want a candy bar and we all know that you want to be owners, and, extend it for a week, continue the same kind of promotion, the excitement, the energy, and utilize it as a catalyst to grow. Another way would be to, and sometimes it's not the right thing to do. I mean, who knows what's happening in your community, or what, maybe COVID just happened to hit. And so maybe it is time to lay low. Maybe we just thank our owners for becoming owners in the promotion and move on to the next topic. We don't have to necessarily draw attention to failure. I tend to lead towards the ownership side of it. Own it, know it, talk to your owners about it, tell them what happens, tell them why you need them. But I'll just take a quick second here to talk about short-term promotions, because they are a tool that works, and I believe they're a tool that can continue to work right now. And I'd like to see more co-ops utilizing it right now because everyone is online and paying attention. But you have to be very strategic about this. This isn't willy-nilly, let's just do this and see how it happens. You have to have a plan, and you have to have a communication strategy about it. You need to be talking about numbers, and you need to be talking about them every day. We got 2 new owners today, or no owners today. Where are you? if we're going to meet our goal by the 31st, we're going to need an owner every day. And that you're not letting that messaging fall off. It's a time where you want to focus a lot of energy and commitment to that messaging specifically about that promotion. And your peripheral messages can still exist, but a little less focus on those.
I
Great
agree.
question,
That's one
Kelly.
thing we've seen a lot is that people underestimate the energy level necessary. I love that
Yes.
you're pointing to that.
Yes. This is not something to just, think we could do in our spare time. It takes the concerted effort. Yep.
Lots of communicating. Yeah. And I'm with you on the owning it. I've seen you allow, if you made 22 owners and your goal was 30 and you decide it's not the right time to extend, then own it. Be like, thank you so much to the 22 owners who joined us in March. We're 22 owners stronger. We're now at blank. Just own it. 22 is awesome. I think the question you had, Kelly, is that you guys promised everyone to get something if you got to the goal. And I know that's a very specific need, which I think Katie spoke to really well. It's probably worth the push. So Eric, all right, Eric's saying PBS does a challenge grant where someone has offered to match pledges. If they don't meet their goal to that challenge grant period, they need to offer to whomever offered to match. I'm not sure what you mean there, Eric. Do you want to unmute and share that thought? Can you tell I'm not a constant PBS listener as much as I do support them? Okay, I'm not sure if Eric feels like joining us and sharing a little more what he meant there, because how to do that, how to flexibly share, how to be flexible about the gifting. If PBS has nailed it, let's hear about it. We can P6 that too.
Another thing to consider too with those short-term promos is that there's one reward. So like there's a CSA.
Yeah, I like those.
And if we get to 31 owners in 31 days, all of our names go in a hat and we draw the owner. So if you were in that same scenario, you got to 20, you could go back to the farmer donating the CSA and say, hey, we got 20. Do you think we should pull a name anyways? And or should we push to get 31? Which I lean towards push to get 31. But then you have some flexibility there too. And no one's out anything yet because we all had to be, our names were being put in a hat, so to speak, to win the prize.
Yeah. We definitely found that was better. Now, one of the things, you mentioned yard signs. So since we've got a few minutes, let's go there. Prairie Food Co-op did a while back a competition where people were supposed to send in photos of themselves with their yard sign, being kooky or having fun. What do you think about doing those types of promotions right now?
Oh, I think that's awesome. I think any way we can connect people to people right now is huge. And photos are a great way to do that, especially if you can include a yard sign or a Prairie Food Co-op t-shirt, or, it could just be a swag competition where you post a picture of your co-op swag or a co-op swag for that matter. Maybe you have a Willie Street bag or who knows what you have. But I think that's really cool.
Excellent. Yeah, I love the Rep Your Co-op, and Green Top recently opened now. Did something where they not only had people submit their photos, and this wasn't the same thing, but then they had the people, their Facebook fans vote.
Yeah.
And so you voted by liking. Oh my God, so much attention.
Yeah.
So you can not only let people turn in, but then you can put them into one photo thing and say, okay, now everyone vote.
Yeah.
And there can be some kind of prize.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
So there was a comment. Like the comments jumped around on me. There was some questions about just doing the yard signs. Are people charging for them? Or are they just giving them out? Katie, what do you recommend?
I think asking for a donation is a good option, and letting people contribute what they'd like to for the yard signs. Again, though, we're in unprecedented times, and that might not be an option for some people. So I think making it flexible is key. Making sure that if people want a yard sign, we can get them a yard sign, whether they can make a donation or not. But offering the donation option is a good way to do that. I've seen co-ops use a Google form, an online form where they can put their name you know, the individual's name and address, and that way we have record of where they are and we can even deliver them. And now, you know, we wouldn't even have to knock on the door. We could just put the sign in their yard, and then they can make their donation online.
All the comments are agreeing with you. People are saying they're either asking for a donation or just giving them away, that that's been
Yep.
more effective.
Yep, I agree. Then a set price, for some reason, doesn't tend to go over well. And I find that too with political signs. If the candidate asks me to buy a sign,
Yeah.
I'm not that inclined. But if they ask me to make a donation and I get a sign, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. All right.
That's a really good point. You're right. That's exactly how I react. People are asking, are yard signs just for owners? Yes. Those go to owners. They're investment on your part. Eric, you said you think you figured it out. Do you want to share with us about that PBS idea for flexible campaigns?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. During PBS, they do pledge drives, right? A couple of times a year.
Yep.
And they will, they have an option where people can match the grants for a period of time. So they'll, someone will donate an extra $500 with the understanding that the station will get $500 in donations over that period of time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. If they don't make it, then they have to offer to give the 500 back, as opposed to just giving it back in the scenario where we didn't make our goal. Now what do we do? I mean, if it's posed ahead of time as, here's what we want to do. If we don't make it, you have the option of getting your money back.
Oh, okay. I see. As a donor, if I gave my $50 to meet that $500 match and we don't make the match, I could get my $50 back.
You make that as part of the program, that if we don't make it, we will offer to give you your donation back.
Yeah, I don't see that as I would like to stay away from that in terms of ownership shares, just because it's a contract that we're asking people to sign with us and we want them to be owners. So that I do think that's a way to manage a fundraising strategy, certainly. But in terms of ownership, I think that gets a little trickier. Jacqueline?
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
In the context of a fundraising drive.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes sense in that context.
We've got time for maybe just one or two more, and Kim has something really great I'd love to hear her share with Katie and talk about. I'm excited about it. Kim, are you able to unmute and share about this idea?
Sure. We are a startup, and one of the things that they were doing is giving t-shirts to new members. And I suggested that while t-shirts are nice, we all have several of them. And because right now we are still in startup mode, and we have a lot of small businesses. I'm in East Point, Georgia, and we thought we're always encouraging in our neighborhood, we're always encouraging people to get these gift cards for the small businesses because we want to keep our restaurants.
Yeah.
So I said, why don't we just give them a gift card? It's probably as valuable as the t-shirt to us. I mean, in terms of cost, I'm sorry, not value, in terms of cost, but more valuable because we can give them something that is kind of meaningful to our small business community, who we consider our partners. And then of course, you know, for any family, if they're giving us whatever the amount is, whether they do it, hopefully this would just be for people who do the full payment and not a payment plan, so we're not like losing money on a continual basis. But the idea would be just like a $10 gift card. It could just be lunch. It doesn't have to be dinner for four. But the idea being that they are, you know, it's just kind of trying to be as much of a partner with our community, both with the neighbor who's coming into the co-op as well as the small business. That was the idea. And someone asked me, Market 166 is in Metro Atlanta, East Point, Georgia.
Okay.
I mean, literally on the Atlanta line. So that's where we are. And our community is near the airport, relatively moderate income. So yeah.
Awesome. What a great idea. I love that idea, Kim.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so much tagging of other local businesses, so much cross promotion, so much community love. I mean, that's my idea of the day. I love that, Kim. Someone asked, are you giving gift certificates for any businesses or only those businesses that are owners of the co-op?
Okay. The businesses do not have to be owners. We don't have that many business owners. So this will just be kind of kind of a goodwill gesture because we are really just getting started. We aren't at the point where we have 100 owners, so we're not at the point. And one of the things that we've learned is that there are some businesses who feel a little bit threatened right now. Anyway, their whole vitality is threatened, and so it's just not a good time for them. I mean, you know, households feel it, but small businesses feel it. So we're just so it's a goodwill thing, but we feel that it sends a good message, a strong message to our community. Some of them may not be business owners here, but they understand and they also want to support those restaurants. So there's really no lose to it, even though business may not be members. And then we have a good relationship with our farmers market. So we also thought about giving a gift certificate just to the farmers market, kind of the concept of you like shopping local, we want you to shop local, because that's also a potential, wherever the potential competitors and partners are. This is just kind of a building relationships kind of thing, frankly, but it goes over well. So there you are.
Yeah, Kim, I agree. That's you know, those businesses might not be owners, but I guarantee you they will be at some point.
Yeah. So I'm gonna we're kind of to wrap up time. I know every time we have Katie on, it's hard to get it wrapped up. But Katie, any last thoughts you want to share with everybody?
You know, I'll just say that you know, this situation that we're in right now has demonstrated that we need each other more than we ever have. We need community. We need a resilient food system, and co-ops offer that. We offer the answer to those questions and to that stress that our communities are feeling. And I hope that you will take comfort in that you offer a solution to your communities, and that you ask them to see you as a solution, and you ask them to participate. And I know you will. I know you'll do great things, and I look forward to seeing you all grow like crazy.
Excellent. Thank you so much to Katie. And we'll do another thank you word at the end here. I want to make sure you guys know what's coming up. You guys know if you've registered, if you've ever done this before, you will get an email with the Google folder, with the video, with the slides, and any additional materials that were discussed during the call. But I do want to tell you what's coming up, because Katie's going to be back this week. So next tomorrow, Suncoast Market is going to be with us to share about their produce box program, which they spun up right as COVID-19 started. And they decided to work with a distributor of produce, small in their community, who was suddenly in pretty bad straits because all the restaurants weren't buying. They got that relationship built with that produce distributor, and they're getting fresh produce to the doors of their owners in the community. So we'll hear all about that program, how it's gone, what they'd advise, not advise about what they did. They're going to be here tomorrow. And then on Friday, Katie will be back with Oshkosh Food Co-op. And I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait to hear. Not only did they raise capital and hopefully just hit their goal. We don't know quite yet. They're darn close. But they had to raise the last bit of it during the middle of this crisis and message in this crisis. Katie's going to talk about what they did that made that messaging work, how they were sensitive to the time and yet effective in getting people to pony up money in the middle of a time when everyone's feeling very uncertain for the future of their co-op. Brenda Haynes from Oshkosh Food Co-op, their board chair, will be joining Katie. So it'll be a double threat, and it'll be really fun. So join us here Friday. And then on Tuesday, I'm excited to say Amaha Selassie from Gem City Market will be here. And his session is called Collective Hope. He's doing a session about why actually, like, oh, you mean, you know, we actually are, his first statement was, you mean we actually are reliant on each other? We are interdependent? This moment is showing us that, and how he's talking about that and utilizing that with communities he works with, in addition to Gem City Market, to help people take action on cooperation now. So very excited to have him coming here next Tuesday. So, and due to requests, the dates will be coming out soon. It's actually going to be May 4th. You've asked for a session just for board chairs where you can sit around and talk about how this has been going and how you're keeping your team moving and what's on your minds. That session for just board chairs will be coming at May 4th. You'll see that announced soon. And one on May 8th, which is going to be just for outreach folks to get together and, you know, chew the cud and talk about what's going on, what's working, what's not, as well. So those are coming up, and every Wednesday we send out the email with the list of all the sessions coming up in the next 10 days and the registration links. So if you're not on our email list, please drop your email in the chat now, because that's coming out late this afternoon and you're not going to want to miss it. Again, thank you to Katie. It's always a terrific session when she's here. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for all your great ideas, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jack. Okay.